Mentos, the fresh maker.
Now, if I didn't know any better, I'd say that you're looking at running for president again.
Do it. Do it. Look at me. Do it. I will personally write you a campaign check now on behalf of this country, which does not want you to be president, but which badly wants you to run.
I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump.
I think that man will be president of the United States right about the time that spaceships come down filled with dinosaurs and red cake.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
Donald Trump will not become president.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
Donald Trump will never, ever be president.
Moderator, but apparently believes that Donald Trump is a clown.
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump. At least I will go down as a president.
You're never going to be president of the United States by insulting your way to
Let's see, I'm at 42 and you're at 20.
We have a key race alert right now. Donald Trump now has reached the number of delegates needed to clinch the Republican presidential nomination.
So right now, Mr. Trump, to answer your call for political honesty, I just want to say you're not going to be president, all right? It's been fun. It's been great. I love you. But come on, buddy.
Donald Trump, while we project, will win in Kentucky with its 8 electoral votes, in Indiana with its 11 electoral votes, West Virginia, Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi, South Carolina, Alabama, Kansas with its 6 electoral votes, Nebraska with its 5 electoral votes, and Wyoming with its 3 electoral votes, North Dakota with its 3 electoral votes, and South Dakota, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, the state of Montana, Missouri, Ohio, Idaho, North Carolina.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
Together, we will make America great again.
What's up, Snake Pit? What's up to the 199? Welcome in to CobraCast 199. We're battling the algorithm tonight because we're not even working the algorithm. No algorithm title, just a flat Cobra 199, just so we can see what happens, because that's how we roll. That's how we roll. So, how's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody's doing well. We got a lot to talk about. I intentionally did not watch the All In podcast with President Trump so I could watch it for the first time with all of you. So we're going to watch President Trump appearing on the All In podcast, and it's very cool to see him like jump on a Zoom call and do a podcast like that. It's very I was not expecting that at all. I almost did an emergency CobraCast last night, but I was supposed to go live to play video games and I didn't because I was recording videos for Geeks and Gamers. So we're going to react to that live tonight. That's going to be what we're going to cover. I've heard really good things about it. So we're going to check it out and we're going to see how that goes. Let's see. Oh, you hate it when all of your live at the same time, hard to support. No, I hear you, Jose Taco, man. Anytime you're choosing to hang out here with me, I appreciate it. But I know there's a lot of different streams and a lot of different channels, so you gotta make the best of your time. So I appreciate you being here, man. But yeah, we're gonna go through that podcast and we're gonna see nothing. I've heard nothing but good things about it. So let's see. That's not what I wanted. There we go. All right. So we will check that out. All right, so I see we got peeps in the chat. I got love dogs in the chat. What's up? Silver Smurfer says, I appreciate you, DJ Cobra. Well, I appreciate you too. Let's see. Cogna Cat says, haha, yeah, I have like 10 people I follow and they're streaming right now. Audio is out of sync with video. Really? Testing. Is it? That's going to be a fucking OBS issue if that's the case. Is anybody else seeing that it's out of sync? Because I haven't had any issues with recording on OBS. Is Ripa in the chat? What up, young Ripa in the house? Star Wars Theory Drama. Yes, I have a video on Geeks and Gamers. I covered the whole thing. All right, audio's good. Hell yeah. Okay. Yeah, the Star Wars Theory stuff. I just uploaded a video over on Geeks and Gamers covering that. So if you want to go hear my thoughts on that, you can go check that out. Let's see. Jeremy is in sync. Huh. Well, you know someone who's not in sync right now because there's pictures and video going around about him? That would be one Justin Timberlake. Man, it's pretty wild. Let me see if I can pull those images up of Timberlake really quick. So you all know he got arrested and busted for alcohol, and I think he had drugs in his system. And there's these pictures or this is a concert of him, and I'm not going to play the audio from it, but there's this video going around of him, and man, he looks rough, man. He looks rough. Right here, check this out. I don't want to mute it. Let's see. All right, look at this dude, man. Look at his eyes. Holy shit. Look at his eyes. This dude is blitzed. He is gone. I mean, he is completely gone. This dude, holy crap. This is, let me see if I can get a good pause on this. Holy shit. I don't know what's going on with this dude, but he is not doing well. He's not doing well. I mean, I've watched Justin Timberlake for a long time. I've always been a fan of Timberlake as a musician. I always thought he was really good. He is mega talented, no doubt about that. I don't like his. He's made comments in the past, so I know his politics. He's a left-wing piece of shit, and maybe that's just leftism right there, eating you alive. I've also heard bad things about him from. Let's just say I know people that know him, and I've not heard good things about him. But as a talented musician and an actor and a comedian, he's pretty damn talented. But dude is gone. There's more pictures. Let me see if I can find them really quick. And the reason I thought of that is because you said Jeremy's in sync, and I'm like, well, I am in sync, but there's somebody who's not in sync. Look at it right here. Is that Justin Timberlake? Not being sarcastic. This dude is gone. So, yeah, just thought that was kind of interesting to see. There was a great, I think I showed it on Geeks and Gamers Daily the other day. There's this fantastic meme that I would have to find. This is like the best thing that came from the Justin Timberlake mugshot was this meme. And if I could find it really quick, I'll have to scroll down and see if I can find it because I did like it. It's one of the great memes you'll see, and it's I think everybody can relate. So for those of you that don't watch Geeks and Gamers Daily, you'll see it for the first time. Some of you probably already saw it for the first time, and man, it's good. It's really, really good. Come on, here it is, right here. Here it is. When the dino nuggets in what the dino nuggets in my microwave see at 3 a.m. Come on, man. This is the greatest. This is a great meme. All right. We've all been there. 3 a.m. You just want some dino nuggets. Okay. You just want some dino nuggets. We've all been there. We can all relate to that right there. Hail to the Dino Nuggets. I told you that's a hell of a meme right there. That's the best thing that came from. This tweet has 161,000 likes. Holy shit. That's a lot. That is a lot. All right. So that's anyway. Justin Timberlake having a rough time right now. Okay. He's having a rough time. Things are not going great for Mr. Timberlake. Let's just say. Love Dog says Timberlake is Rekieta 2.0. Wow. Savage. Axel Jensen says Timberlake went full Rekieta. Oof. Crimson Raptor says that intro never gets old. I can't wait to see the libs cry again in less than 5 months. Trump 2024. Hail the 199. Let's go. Mark Schaefer for 10. Jay, who might be here a little bit later, as a huge fan of your boy, Jeremy promised us car and truck videos months back. At this point, he gave us you, which we enjoy. I now propose J car videos since our boy Jeremy has failed. Thank you. Okay, so you guys have noticed. I've been back in the video grind, okay? I've been back in the video grind, and I'm doing really good on that. And you know what happens next? The evolution of this. I'm back in the grind. Next is car videos, okay? I'll bring a car video from the Mustang, okay? I will bring a car video from the Mustang, all right? I promise. I promise. Jared the American says, been a week, need prayers for my family. Hey, man, nothing but prayers for you and your family. He says also, R.I.P. Donald Sutherland. Absolutely, Donald Sutherland passed away. How old was he? Was he in his 90s? I think he was in his 90s, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, you said he played. I don't know how to say that. Played a role in 1999 film, the Hunley and the CSS Hunley. Yeah.
88.
88. Okay, 88 years old. So he was 88 years old and lived a great life, obviously. So you know, nothing but prayers for you, Jared the American. Hope everything turns out well for you. Emerald Eyes, a.k.a. Mary N, says, troubling news on the Metroid game. You might want to look into it. A blue-haired writer from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is on it and wants to make Samus trans. I did see that. I am planning on covering that very soon over on Geeks and Gamers. I might do that tonight after this stream. I might. Just a dude on a phone says Timberlake sure is one lonely island. Timberlake sure is one lonely island. Yes, he is. There's a lot of memes and there's a lot of jokes that can be made about what's going on with him. There's like, again, I've always like, I haven't listened to Timberlake's music in a few years because it's really gotten strange. But I always liked his stuff from back in the day, and I was a huge fan of like just him as an entertainer. So I thought he was really talented, but the more and more you started to learn his politics, and again, I will be fair to him, his politics really didn't interrupt his, as an actor or like on SNL or a musician. It didn't really impact that. But I don't feel sorry for Hollywood people. I don't know. Maybe I'm just an asshole, man. But I just don't feel sorry for Hollywood people. Like, you get in that world, you virtue signal. I remember he made a speech years ago that was obviously, I can't remember, it was some award show, and it was obvious that he was making an anti-Trump speech, but he did not mention Donald Trump at all. But it was obvious who he was talking about. And such a coward's way of doing it. Like, at least just say what's on your mind, you know. But he basically was projecting really, really hard about, like, hate and love and acceptance. And I was like, shut the fuck up. So it's just really hard to have any sympathy for these fucking people. Especially somebody like him who had literally everything. Had everything. You know, Timberlake had everything. He had fame. He had talent. He's got, who's he married to? I know he's married to some hottie. Jessica Biel. And he got away from Britney. So he dodged that bullet. You know, he dodged that bullet. Not only did he bang Britney, he got away from her too. He dodged that bullet. So, yeah, it is what it is. So we'll see what happens with the dude. Hopefully he gets his shit together. Samuel says, did you see one of Biden's Secret Service was robbed at gunpoint in Cali? I keep hearing about that story. I need to follow up on it. Many people have mentioned that to me. So I need to look into that. But I keep hearing about it. Dr. Gene Banana says, hey, Jeremy, could you shout out my friend's game, Hyper Up on Android? Use the code Dr. Gene for 75 star drops. Hail the 199 and the Snake Pit. Hyper Up on Android. There you go. We don't know what type of game it is, but Hyper Up on Android. Okay, so the All In podcast, Donald Trump appeared on the All In podcast, and I have not seen this yet. And like I said, I saw a couple of clips here and there, but it's really cool that he did appear on this, and I'm interested to kind of check that out. We've also got this Dan Bongino clip that everybody, again, I went out of my way to not watch this until I went live. So this is a Dan Bongino clip that's going around right now that apparently he went scorched earth on Bill O'Reilly, apparently. And I'm not really the biggest fan of Bill O'Reilly at all. So we're going to watch that. General Duality on Rumble says, hail, I went to a comic shop during lunch and picked up Duke Volume 1 and Destro Issue 1. I've still got to pick up Destro Issue 1. I read Destro at work and enjoyed it. Duke so far is amazing. Can't wait to get Cobra Commander. Hell yes. I love hearing that. The new G.I. Joe run is really good. And I'm happy about that. I don't think it's going to translate over to the movies per se, but I guess time will tell. I have no faith in the big budget stuff from Hollywood at all. Let's take a look at this Dan Bongino clip really quickly. So Dan Bongino really went off on Bill O'Reilly, and I don't really know the whole context here. I don't know the whole backstory. But let's listen in.
But if you are going to go out and now start attacking us for calling out Democrats for wanting illegals to vote and calling me a fanatic, when you kiss my ass to get on my show, you can go fuck yourself, you pussy. You understand? You got something to say to me, you 6 foot tall plus piece of shit? Say it to my face. Fucking chump. Piece of shit. You're listening to this guy, you're being played.
Holy hell.
Here, put up that article about the New York Post article I had put up. Yeah, Bill? The Democrats don't want they don't want illegals to vote? You know, there's an act in Congress called the SAVE Act. Did you know this? You're so fucking stupid. You don't even know this, you dipshit. You know why? Let me tell you a little secret about this industry. There's about 10% of the hosts that actually do their own show. Producer Jim, am I right? Thank you. You know what the other 90% do? No, Dan. They're talking about what they care about. No, they're not. They're too freaking lazy to do their own show. So you know what a lot of these other bums do? Like O'Reilly? They have producers and stuff.
He's 100% right about that. So listen, if you've ever watched, and this goes from like all the sports shows on ESPN to all the Fox Newses and the CNNs of the world, have you ever watched an episode? Remember back in the day when the O'Reilly Factor was like the #1 show on television? Whenever Bill O'Reilly wasn't there and there would be a fill-in person, remember the tone, the language, the topics, like everything was exactly the same when the person was filling in. Now, obviously, there might have been some Bill O'Reilly had a certain kind of like personality and things, but like overall, the entire situation, the entire structure of the show, the wording in which they were using, all the same, because all of it is fake. All of it. All of these news anchors and all of that, it's all fake as fuck. None of them are talking with their own opinions. None of them. So he's 100% right about that.
Just throw shit in front of them and they read it. He doesn't know shit. They have this act called the SAVE Act. It's a really simple thing.
Okay. I think we're back. I have no idea what happened, but we were able to get it restarted. So let me know if you guys hear me. Is Gary in the chat? We can blame Gary. Yeah, I really don't know, but it's the same link and everything. So we were able to save the same link. All right, everybody here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that was really strange. Really strange. But we're good. We saved it. We're back live on every single platform. We're back on YouTube. We're back on Rumble. We're back on Kick. And we're back on everywhere. So we're good. Okay. Here we go. All right. So see there? We're okay. Look at that. And to celebrate us returning, Lady Erin D just dropped 5 gifted memberships. That's what's up. Okay, so let's continue on. Let's pick up where we were with Dan Bongino. I backed it up a few seconds. So here we go.
Be able to prove you're a citizen. How many Democrats, Bill? Because you said it's only the far left, right? How many Democrats support that bill? Oh, there's the answer, you dipshit. 1. You stupid fuck. You're so stupid. You dumb motherfucker. You gonna take me on, bro? You sure? What do you think I'm here for? You think I'm here to play nice? I give a shit about you? I give a shit about you. I care about this cause.
Dude, does he normally get this fired up? Does he normally get this fired up? This dude is fired up right now.
Care about you one bit. You're a bum and a loser. You've always been a loser. You left Fox and you're pissed off that the other people that left built careers and nobody likes you because you're a piece of shit. Calling me a fanatic if you beg to get on my show? Here's the real Bill O'Reilly, too. You want to see his tweet on January 6th? This is a couple days later. He had time to think about this. At Bill O'Reilly, douchebag. President Trump's failure to tamp down the angry protesters. You mean by telling them to march peacefully and patriotically, you dumb fuck?
Yep.
President Trump's failure to tamp down the angry protesters supporting him in Washington has destroyed his legacy. Oh, yeah, it really has. It's only up in every swing state, you moron. Now, let's listen to this next part. This is Bill O'Reilly. Our divided nation turns to you, Joe Biden. Diffuse it as best you can.
Oh, my God.
Don't fuck with me, bro.
That is the most pathetic thing anybody could say. And when you do that, like, you already knew back then even, you already knew that Joe Biden was a piece of shit. You already knew the Democratic Party were evil. You knew what they were doing. The fact that you were trying to say that, like, to pretend that you're doing this in good faith, absolutely ridiculous. Bill O'Reilly's always been like this. And I agree with Dan Bongino about the fact that he is a clown. He's a clown that has a bunch of producers and a team that basically does everything for him. And he just says the same talking points, whatever talking points they can come up with. That's what he does. That's all he is. He is a phony.
You fuck around, you're gonna find out. Go have a few beers with some of the makeup people and other people at Fox. Find out what a dick this guy was to people. And Bill, let me tell you something, because I know you're watching, you piece of shit. You have no idea. I'm not going to name names because I'm not a dick like you. You started something you can't tamp down because I actually have an audience and you don't because you're a dick. You have any idea how many people texted me this morning? Nail that motherfucker to the wall. They hate you. Nobody likes you. You're an asshole. You've always been an asshole. And we're doing it live.
Doing it live.
Bill's jealous. Bill's jealous, of course. He's had a radio show and it sucked ass and nobody listened. Did you know that? Oh, you didn't know that? Of course you know it because the show sucked.
Bongino fired up, ladies and gentlemen. Holy shit. Again, I don't really even watch Dan Bongino that much, but every time I see a clip from him, it's awesome. And he's a strong supporter of President Trump, which is obviously my primary issue when listening to any political commentator is what's their consistency level been on President Trump? Now, you guys in the chat will have to educate me, but I kind of feel like I already know the answer. Where was he at on the whole DeSantis-Trump thing? Did he ever flirt with the whole, like, well, DeSantis is a better version of Trump because he's got the temperament bullshit like a lot of conservatives did? I don't think he did that. I would be interested to know, though, if he did, if there was any clips. But yeah, we had a lot of those. Fucking clowns. They were like, "Yeah, DeSantis is a better version of Trump because he's got calm temperament and he can beat things calm." Fuck that. Yeah, he is a better version of Trump. Really? You actually believe that? How'd that campaign go for you? Campaign didn't work out too good, did it? Now, again, I think DeSantis is a really good governor and a very effective governor. And I think once upon a time he had a very, very bright political future. I think DeSantis is going to be working for Fox News when he's done being governor of Florida. That's what I think he's going to be doing. I don't think he's got anything else to do. I think he's going to be working for Fox News. And that's his own fault. It's his own fault for listening to clowns like Dave fucking Rubin and Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire clowns and all these Con Inc. losers that told him, the Jeb Bushes of the world, the Bush crime family, the Paul Ryans, telling him, you're going to be the next guy because Trump's not going to be the nominee. He deserves it, man. Like, you got to be a stupid idiot. You have to be an idiot to think that you had a chance against Trump. So anyway, I like this clip from Bongino, and he's a strong supporter of President Trump, so hail Dan Bongino. Okay, I see you, Kelly R. Kelly R. just dropped our first MAGA Red bomb of the night. $100. Internet fight, let's go. You know it. Not with me. I don't fight with anybody on the... I tend to stay out of the internet drama world. I made one video on the Ricada thing, just talking about from my perspective on it, and holy fuck. Everybody's talked about that clip. All you got to do is make one comment. And I knew that. That's why we decided to put it over on the D-Day Cobra Clips channel. It got a fuck ton of views over there. It's like the only video that's broken like 500 views on that channel. All because internet drama. People love some internet drama, man. They do. I think that while you can get a ton of views and get a lot of traction out of that stuff, I personally... it's just not worth the weeds in the mud for me. I just don't think it's beneficial in the long run. In the short run, it's great. It's great. But I know what you're talking about, Kelly R. I just felt like me open up to that. Reptilian Research Redo says, for 5 gifted membership. Thank you. 5. Look at that. Get them gifties rolling. Lady Dixon, welcome to the Snake Pit. Thank you. Alan Tanasi, for $5. Joe Biden is so old that his social security number is 1. But he can't remember, so I can't confirm. Hail the 199. Scanned in. Alan. Kyle says the Uniparty sucks for the member messages. Thank you. The man, the myth, the legend says point and laugh. Ha, 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 ha. Eddie says, glad you're back. Thought you got Epstein. Not quite. Golden Nugget says, for 2 says you're back, but still gay. VJ the Vigilant for 5 says, hail D-Day. Did you see the Winklevoss twins donated 30, or what? I don't know how much Bitcoin is, 30.94 Bitcoin worth $2 million to Trump. I did see that. Trump's getting a lot of support from a lot of different places right now. Skywalker DFS for 10 says that was as gay as Jeremy listening to Coldplay. I don't like Coldplay. They've got a couple of decent songs, but I don't like Coldplay. Hummus equals Cannon says Fig99. Thank you. Axel Jensen for 2 says Jeremy pulled a Tim Pool. Ian says, hold the line, chat. Chat is takeover. Let's go 199. You know, that's crazy. I forgot about that. The last time we had an internet issue, the chat literally took over. That was pretty awesome. Corioline says, the power of 1, the power of 2, the power of MAGA. Thank you. Marvelous says, member message with a scan in 199. Thank you so much. Piano Dean for 10 says, if the NFL sued Nintendo for making hats, God damn it jumped around on me. If the NFL sued Nintendo for making hats that make Mario invincible, they'd have a case. But if Nintendo sued the NFL for making pipes that warp their players all over, not sure that dog would hunt. Freaking Piano Dean, man. Polish Prince says the force is strong with Drunk 3PO. Kevin Hunts for 50. Jeremy, you have 2 wolves on your shoulder. One is gay and the other is gay. What's up, man? How you doing, Kevin? Alan Tanasi for 10 says Nick Arcata is not a normal man, probably not an innocent man. Shout out to Side Scrollers, my morning show before the Snake Pit in the evening. Hail. Dragon Wise says hookers and blow, titties and beer. Let's fucking go 199. Rye the guy. The funniest thing I heard today was that the Democrats are actually trying to train Biden to stand for 90 minutes for the upcoming debate. The debate are we like 6 days away now? It's going to be on a Thursday, right? That's this coming Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct on that, chat? This Thursday, and we will be live for the whole thing, baby. We will be live for the whole thing. So I am looking forward to that. So we will cover that. All right, let's get into this All-In podcast. All right? The All-In podcast. President Trump appeared on the All-In podcast. And it's so weird seeing him in this setting. He's going to sit down right now. He's literally walking up to sit down at his computer in this scene right here. He needs to do more of this. We could actually get Trump on CobraCast if he's willing to do more stuff like this. Could you imagine if we got Trump on CobraCast? That's crazy. All right, so let's listen in.
Here we go.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Mr. President.
Great time. I love that house he has. I love David's house. What a house. That made the biggest impression, huh?
Thank you, sir. I heard you have a pretty nice house, too.
Yeah, I have we're in a nice house. We like
Although
houses.
it's only worth $18 million, right?
We're like, I know, the judge said 18 million. People said Palm Beach has gone down a long way. Hello, everybody.
Let your winners ride.
Rain Man David Sack.
Had to turn that down a little bit. So this is a group of billionaires with their All-In podcast, and they're going to be talking to President Trump.
Thanks so much for sitting down with us, Mr. President. The All-In pod's basically the four of us having conversations. It's kind of a spectrum of different views. It's sort of like a little bit of some Fox News and then some MSDNC at the same time.
Well, that's okay. Keeps it interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, Chamath and I, we had a great time at the fundraiser that we did a couple weeks ago. I think it turned out great. And I heard the Winklevoss brothers are actually announcing that they're donating $1 million each in Bitcoin to you tomorrow. So I think that's a great result to come out of it as well.
Yeah, got to meet them for the first time at your house, and terrific. They did well. They might have started the whole thing. I don't know. I don't know if that court case was proper, but they were very nice, both of them.
Absolutely.
Really nice guys.
And I think maybe this is a good place to start in our conversation is, one of the things I think we heard a lot at that dinner was just the difficulty that people in business were having under this Biden administration. You got the crypto guys who just want a framework. They just want the government to tell them how to operate, and they can't get that. You got no M&A happening right now in tech. The real estate guys, they can't get loans because the interest rates are through the roof and there's a credit crunch. So I think one of the common themes we just heard across that dinner was that it was just so hard to do business right now. And I guess maybe a good place to start would just be, what's the number one thing, or maybe the top three things that you would do to kind of get things moving again, if you're reelected?
So I'd say regulation, and taxes, okay? I gave the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, and a lot to business. It took them down from, look, as you know, they were paying companies were paying 40%, 45%, including state and city taxes in many cases. And we got it down to 21%. We'd like to get it down lower, actually, but we got it down. And the revenues were better than ever, even with the lower rate. We had a record revenues, which tells you a little bit about that. But also the regulations. And when I asked a lot of people, a lot of big people, a lot of corporate types, big corporate types, I said, if you had your choice between just the taxes or just the regulations, where did I do better? He said the regulations. I was the biggest cutter of in 4 years, I cut more regulations than anybody by far, not even close. And when I spoke to different people about the regulation versus the taxes. I don't think I've ever had anybody say, and the taxes were a massive cut, from 37, 38%, if you look at it just there, to 21%. I don't think I ever had anybody say that the taxes were more important than the regulation cuts. I made it possible to build. I made it possible to do things, to invest. I was able to get companies with a lot of money outside of the USA to bring that money back in. We cut the rate, and it was crazy. The rate was like 55%. So that means if they bring the money back, they lose half their money before they even start. But it was also impossible from a standpoint, a structural standpoint, a legal standpoint. It was very hard. And they were able to bring back, Apple's an example. They brought hundreds of billions of dollars back from other countries into the United States and invested it here. So, but it's very interesting because I ask the question all the time, which was more important? And almost everybody said I did an even better job. And I got the biggest tax cuts. The biggest tax cuts, bigger than the Reagan tax cuts, but they found regulations, and the regulation cuts were even more effective. And that's where we had the great economy, and that's where we had the most jobs ever produced.
So there's this odd thing that happens in certain
This is a really good interview, and Trump looks very comfortable in this setting. He looks very comfortable in this setting. He probably knows all these guys fairly well, but I hope that this will open him up to do more video interviews or podcasts with people, because he looked, and he could get out there even more if he would do a lot more of
states
these.
Where taxes keep going up, and then you start to see the states break, right? Productivity breaks, crime goes up, and quality of life goes down. But then people don't understand that taxation and all of those things are correlated. Do you have an idea of why that is? Like, why don't people understand universally that lower taxation is better for productivity?
Well, they don't understand it, and it's such an interesting question because you look at some of these places like Chicago and New York and L.A. and so many more. I hate to even mention the three because there are worse examples than that. You look at what's happened in Oakland, and you look at what's happened into some cities that are disappearing. They're literally just crime waves. Nobody lives there except for criminals because you can't live there. You can't survive there. Physically, you can't survive there. And when you look at the kind of crime that we're talking about, and then they take the power away from the police can't do anything. If they do anything to stop it, they end up losing their pension, their house, their family. They end up losing everything. They get put in jail. And we're not talking about the rogue cops who do something really bad and should be taken care of badly. Be nasty. You got to be nasty to them also. But mostly, these people, they want to really, like 99%, they want to stop crime. They hate to see it. They're not allowed to they're told not to do anything.
I can't even imagine what it's like to live in a big city right now, like a New York or an LA or something like that. I can't even imagine what it's like with the crime, how it is, and how expensive everything is, and the lack of the police presence. And San Francisco's another one that obviously we've heard a ton about and how bad a shape it's in. I can't even imagine what that's like.
When you see a department store that was so proud they opened up a new store in a certain city, and all of a sudden, over the last couple of years has happened, this phenomena where 500 usually young people walk into the store and take everything. They have masks on. They walk out with television sets, air conditioners. They walk out with everything. This is a new phenomena that's taken place, and it's incredible. Look at drugstores. Look at what's going on. Like in New York, you walk into a chain. I've seen it twice. I don't walk into too many drugstores, but I used to love it. I used to love to walk around and just look at what it is, whether it's a drugstore or department store.
That's what I do. I don't even have to spend anything. I just like walking around like Walmart or Target or, when I say thrift store, I mean, now you have these thrift stores where all these retro toys, retro items are there. They're usually like in a big box building that used to be a department store, and they have all these little different vendors in there. I love going to places just to look around. And it is kind of getting annoying how uniformed everything is now, because there's not really an element of surprise anymore at all. But to the point of the shoplifting, I've talked about this many times, and how, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I used to work retail. And I watched that evolution change pretty weird because when I first started, we could actually physically like hold these people down that we caught. We could actually get physical with them if we needed to defend ourselves. We could handle them, and then we call the police. Police come in there, they take the report, they get, our perspective, they get eyewitness perspectives, and I watched that evolve to the point where we couldn't even stop them. Like, I watched the man steal with my own 2 eyes, but they're like, you still can't stop him. It was wild, and I bet it's even worse now because I've been out of the game for a while.
But they told me just a little while ago, I had a meeting with some people, and they say you walk into a drugstore in New York, and everything's covered up with bars and glass, and if you want just a little thing of aspirin or if you want to buy a toothbrush, you have to wait a half an hour to get a clerk, and they open up this vault, and they give you a toothbrush, or they give you... How do you do business like that? This is a phenomenon. There's never been anything like this. They didn't used to have theft of even the most minor items. They had very little theft, relatively speaking. They didn't have theft, but they had the police would arrest them if they did something. Today, they don't. They have limits sometimes. If you steal less than $2,000, you don't get arrested. So nobody steals more than $2,000. It's incredible when you see what's happened to the quality of life in our country. And it's happened so quickly. It's taken place so rapidly. Nobody's ever seen anything. But you look at retail, and I know the big deal. It used to be a big deal when a department store moved into a city or, a certain store opened up even in a town. But it's usually the Democrat-run big cities where this problem is taking place. And I don't say that as a Republican. I just say you look at the 25 cities, the top problems, they're just about all Democrat. They're Democrat-run.
And they're also high tax, high regulation states.
Yeah, no cash bail, all of these different things that have taken place. They're phenomena. It's a phenomena. What's going on? Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And it has to be stopped. It's a horrible quality of life. And on top of that, you can't walk to a store. You end up getting shot or mugged or something. The level of crime in the cities, in these big cities, is out of control. Nobody has ever seen anything like it.
Mr. President, can I just ask, on your point about the tax cuts, Larry Summers made a comment the other day, and I thought maybe you could respond to his tweet that the tax cuts coupled with the tariffs that you've proposed would cause a massive, I think he called it the mother of all stagflation, where you would have kind of inflation because of the tariffs, you would have economic decline because more money would start to fund an increase in prices with tax coming down, tax cuts being put in place. Can you maybe just comment on the comment made by Larry Summers and how we implement tax cuts without inflation?
Well, let me say that I respect Larry Summers a lot. He's been right about a lot of things, and Obama and Biden have been wrong. Certain things that he said turned out to be true, certain things. And I do have a good respect for him. He's a different kind of a guy, and he speaks his mind. I happen to be a big believer in tariffs because I think tariffs give you two things. They give you economic gain, but they also give you political gain. If a country is out of control and something having nothing to do with economics or having nothing to do with money coming in or money...
He did it multiple times in his first presidency right there with these.
Going out, but other things that are very political, because there are a lot of other things involved in countries. You have tremendous power over a country. Now, not everybody can say that, but we can because we're the big piggy bank. But our piggy bank is going to get smaller and smaller all the time because we're losing power. We're losing a lot of, countries on the dollar. I mean, they're going like flies. If we ever lose that, that's the equivalent of losing a war. That would be unbelievable. That would really make us third world. We have lost so many countries. I looked the other day. So Russia's gone. You take a look. Ukraine doesn't sort of exist in a sense. Nobody knows what's going on there. But when you look at China is essentially gone. They're trying to get out of it. They're a primary competitor. Iran is not there. The other day I read where Saudi Arabia is willing to now go in various different currencies instead of the dollar.
Trump is very on point here. Not to say he's not usually on point, but usually he adds a lot of that charisma to the equation. It's like he recognizes he's sitting there with very professional guys and he's having a really straightforward conversation without a lot of bullshit to it. Not to say it's bullshit what he does, but you guys know what I'm saying. he likes to add showmanship to when he does interviews, and he's not really doing that. He's talking straightforward to like business guys, talking like it's almost like he's in a private call with them.
This is a tragedy. This is a big thing that's happening against our country, and we cannot let that happen. With tariffs, it gives you a tremendous power, as an example, not to let that happen. You say, you want to do that? We're going to put tariffs on your product coming into the United States. But more importantly, and that's a big importance, but probably of more importance is they tax us, we tax them, reciprocal trade. I think we should have a reciprocal trade act. If China's going to charge us $100 tariff or 100% tariff on a car, then we should say, you got to pay 100% to us. You know, I put on a large tariff on China cars coming in, and it had a huge impact, a huge positive impact.
Huge.
And Biden only is doing the electric cars. I don't know why that is, because the electric cars, they're going to end up all being made in China, by the way. They're not going to be made here. The United Auto Workers are going to take a blow like no unions have. Between that and people coming in, pouring into our country, unions are getting absolutely decimated. Absolutely.
President Trump.
But the reciprocal,
Coalee says Trump is a businessman. At the end of the day, I would say he's in his natural environment. I agree completely.
Reciprocal act is, I think, a very important thing when these countries, and I don't mean just China, we have other countries. You could take the European Union. They don't want our farm product, and they don't want our cars, and they don't want anything. We have a massive deficit right there. But you could go with many countries, and they essentially do things to us, and we should do things to them. Basically, it should be reciprocal.
One of the things we've talked about, President Trump, on this podcast a lot is the deficit. Under your administration, we added close to $8 trillion. Under Biden, it's going to be paradoxically about the same number. Seems incredibly unpopular in Washington to cut costs, but that's something we're going to need to do. What's your plan? And it looks like you're going to win a second term here. What's your plan in your second term to control spending? Can you get it under control? Is there the will in Washington to allow you to do that?
I appreciate the confidence, but let's not be confident, okay? Let's not be confident. Let's pretend that that's not the case. But I do appreciate his confidence.
Well, the biggest thing, I think, is growth, because we can grow our way out. As an example, we have more liquid gold under our feet. I use the term. We have more oil. We have more wells. We have more everything than anybody else. When I started, we were number 3. Now we're number 1. We were number 1. He's going to keep it that way until after the election. If they ever won the election, there's no more oil coming out. There's no more oil. They were going down. Oil is what caused the inflation. You'd have nothing coming out. It would be a disaster. So they were intelligent enough to let the oil wells continue to go. They're not happy about it. But if this election were won by them, I can tell you right now, we would see oil go through the roof, because they would really close it up. Already they're taking out of the strategic reserves just for politics, because they want to try and keep the prices down as low as possible. But the big thing, we have tremendous growth potential, and we have tremendous numbers of dollars that can be saved through efficiency. The way we're spending money, hundreds of billions of dollars, what Biden did with the trillions of dollars that he borrowed for COVID. Now, I had a different situation. We were getting ready to start paying off debt. We were getting ready to make a lot. We had the greatest economy in history. I had to throw a lot of money at COVID in order that we didn't end up in a 1929 type depression, which we could still end up in now because of what they've done. But I threw a lot of money in, and we ended up not in a depression. And then we ended up with a very strong, I ended up with a higher stock market than it was just previous to COVID coming in, which was pretty much of a miracle, according to most. But we had to throw money out there in order to keep our country going. We would have ended up, if I didn't do that, we would have ended up in a depression. The problem is, when Biden came in, he took trillions and trillions of dollars.
Dude, could you imagine Biden being on a podcast like this with very respectable businessmen and commanding the entire interview? Because there's no way that would happen. You know that. We know that. We all know that. And that's the whole point. That's the biggest point to take away from this, is that Donald Trump is commanding this interview with very intelligent guys. And he is hammering out every question, giving plenty of substance, staying on point, and no bullshitting. And we know Biden couldn't last 10 minutes on this podcast.
For COVID, he didn't use it for COVID. He used it for other things, but he took trillions of dollars out, and that caused a lot of the inflation. His energy policies caused inflation, and his spending, the unbelievable spending that they did, caused inflation, tremendous inflation, and it's going to have an impact for a long time to come.
Can you talk about your impoundment authority intention? You mentioned that in the past, that you could go in and reduce the bureaucracy and the spend. I always tell people my position going into the election is less that I'm interested in knowing what the government's going to do for me, and I'm more interested in knowing what the government's going to stop doing that doesn't do any good for anyone. And there seems to be a lot of that. And I'm really curious to hear, sir, how you think about using the impoundment authority vested in you as the president of the United States to reduce some of the bureaucracy, wasteful spending, and create accountability. And is there a team that you've built around you to help build a specific plan on backing out of some of these issues?
Right. We have a lot of money floating around that should be brought back into the government, should be given back to D.C., to Washington. As you know, there was a lot of money given out over the last couple of years, especially my money was given out to help us with COVID. Then they took money and they have no idea what they're even doing with it. That money can be given back, and it should be given back, and things can be done with that money that are positive. But there are many, many things. I'll give you an example. Education. We spend more on education per pupil than any other country. We spend numbers and yet we're terrible at it. We're down at the bottom of the list, and yet we're at the top of the list. I am going to, very early in the administration, we're going to send education back to the states. We're going to give them approximately half the number of dollars, and they're going to have so much money that like they've never had before, because they can spend a fraction of what we're spending right now and have much better school systems. As an example, you could name many. You go to Nebraska, you go to Iowa, you go to many states. We'll do a far better job than we're doing right now, and they'll do it for a fraction of the cost. We'll save a tremendous amount of money and have better. Some states, I don't believe, will do a very good job, but they're going to have to learn to. But we have, I would say most of our states will do a much better job. I think all of them will do better than, you can't do worse than what we're doing right now, but all of them will do better. But some will be absolutely education, a factory in a positive sense, factories. We are going to close up education. We'll have a tiny little group to make sure everyone's teaching at least English and perhaps proper math, et cetera, but very little. Department of Education goes, and education goes back to the states and where it belongs. I mean, where it absolutely belongs. And you're going to save a lot of money. You can look at interior with that. You can look at environmental with a lot of that, where the environment can be controlled by the states instead of this big bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. I mean, what do you do when China is burning all the coal and they're sending the ashes over the United States? Because that's what happens. It takes 3.5 days and it blows over the United States. In the meantime, we're keeping things good. We produce clean coal. We're going to produce clean energy, but we have to get back to energy. We're spending trillions of dollars on artificial, weak energy that's not going to fire up our plants. Our plants have to be fired up. We have a phenomena coming up right now, and I was talking about it the other day to David, and that's AI, little things, two little simple letters, but it's big. And I realized the other day, more than any time when we were at David's house and talking to a lot of geniuses from Silicon Valley and other places, they need electricity at levels that nobody's ever experienced before to be successful, to be a leader in AI. The amount of electricity they need is like double what we have right now and even triple what we have right now. It's incredible how much they need to be the leader. And we're going to have to be able to do that. And a windmill turning with its blade, knocking out the birds and everything else is not going to be able to make us competitive. You'll have China.
What about nuclear, Mr. President?
Dude, I can't believe how again, I know how on point he is normally, but like he is commanding this in a whole different way than he normally handles interviews. And it's the gift of knowing your audience, knowing the audience, reading the room. That's what he does. I mean, so whatever environment he's in, he can adapt to that environment, and he clearly understands the environment he's in. And how can anybody that's like, first of all, if you're on the fence, okay, I don't really understand how you're on the fence, but if you're on the fence, how can you watch this interview and think Biden's a better choice?
Yeah. So let me just give you a statistic on this. China's building 150 nuclear reactors, and they're only spending about $2,500 a kilowatt. In the U.S., we're not building any, and our cost to build them is about $10,000 a kilowatt. And China's about to build as much capacity as 20% of the total U.S. production in nuclear. We clearly have a problem here in nuclear.
We do, and nuclear is okay with me. And what we're doing is, you know, if you look at Alabama, you look at a couple of states where they built these plants and they had cost overruns that are, nobody's ever seen anything like it, where they're costing $25 billion to build a plant. There were a couple of them built in the South. I won't mention the places, but you know the places. And they came out at numbers that I think the most expensive things ever built in our country. And the inspectors would go in, they say, those walls aren't thick enough, knock them down and build another wall. And, you know, the environmental people were brutal. You know, in France and in other places where they do have a lot of nuclear, they build small plants all the same. And if they need double the amount, they'll build two of them, as opposed to the nonsense that we've done where we build these massive plants.
Piker Angelo says the absolute audacity of Trump talking about AI without even clarifying what it means. Oh, that's good. That is good. That is good. Shout out to Kamala Harris.
And they never get built, and they have cost overruns of 300, 400, 500%. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. No, I'm okay with nuclear, but you have to do it in a way that makes sense. And they have nuclear applications today that can be built and can be built reasonably inexpensively. But nuclear certainly is very strong power.
Can I shift the conversation to foreign policy just for a minute, just to make sure we get time to talk about foreign policy? Is that okay with you guys?
Yes.
Mr. President, I've really appreciated your comments saying that you want to bring...
I like how he asked everybody on the panel, and Trump's like, yes. There you go.
A peace deal to the war in Ukraine so that people stop dying. And I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment. But I've seen that Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, is talking about actually putting NATO troops or French troops in Ukraine as potentially a next step. And that could be a tripwire for more NATO troops coming in. Can you guarantee that no matter what, you're not going to put American boots on the ground in Ukraine? Is that something you can say definitively?
I would guarantee it. I wouldn't do it. No. It's different for France. You know, they're neighbors, more or less. We have an ocean in between. It's different for Germany, although Germany is much less involved than they should be, and other countries. But, you know, we have a big ocean in between. One of the things I think is so unfair, David, I think it's terrible, is that we're at least $100 billion more than Europe, meaning Europe as a whole, put together. And the economies are similar size, believe it or not. That put together and us is about a very similar economy size. But it's much more important for them. It's important for everyone. You have to have, look, this would have never happened if I were president. Putin would have never done it. And it happened for two reasons. It also happened because oil went through the roof and he had all this money to prosecute the war. But the oil was at a much lower level, the price of oil. He wouldn't have been able to afford the war. All of a sudden, when it hit almost $100 a barrel, he said, you know, I mean, he's one of the few to make money during a war because the oil has gone, and it stayed very high. It's extremely high right now, and it's going up. Oil prices all over the country are going up, as you probably have noticed. But I will tell you, that would have never happened. Ukraine would have never happened. The Israeli attack would have never happened. And inflation would have never happened. Those are three big things. Inflation would have never happened. But with Ukraine, and now it's very much, look, Ukraine is now, I read the other day where they don't have the soldiers, they don't have the manpower, they want to use children, they want to use old people, very old people, people that are not really perhaps equipped to fight. They're not doing well.
The average age of their soldier is like 43 now. So they're they're literally running out of people. To make a peace deal there, would you be willing to take NATO expansion off the table if that's what it took to get the Russians and the Ukrainians to make a deal? Would you be willing to do that?
So for 20 years, I heard that NATO, if Ukraine goes into NATO, it's a real problem for Russia. I've heard that for a long time. And
hey, mods, I think we got a spammer over on Kick. So if you guys check it out when you get a second.
And I think that's really why this war started. I'm not sure that this war would have started. Biden was saying all of the wrong things. And one of the wrong things, he was saying, no, Ukraine will go into NATO. That's one of the many things he said. When I listened to him speak, I said, this guy is going to start a war. Because as you know, for 4 years, there was never even talk of Russia going into Ukraine. That would have never happened. Russia was not going to attack Ukraine. As soon as I got out, they started to form along the lines. And I thought that Putin maybe, well, look, he's a good negotiator. I thought he was going to be doing that for negotiation purposes. Then all of a sudden they attacked. And I said, what's going on here? But if you look at the rhetoric from Biden, he was saying the opposite of what, in my opinion, you had to say. But the things he was saying, and he's still saying it, he's saying things that are so crazy.
Inflammatory. Yeah.
I 100% agree. And, you know, it turns out that the month before the Russians invaded, Blinken told Lavrov that the administration was not only going to bring Ukraine into NATO, but that they thought it was okay for the United States to put nuclear weapons in Ukraine. So no wonder the Russians hit the roof. I mean, you talk about...
I want to know more about these guys. Like, I remember there was a clip of these guys... I don't know, man. Maybe I want to say maybe 6 months ago, maybe it was a year. I can't remember. But there was this clip of these guys that went super viral because of them kind of coming to the realization that Trump was obviously the best pick. And I from what I remember on that, they were all like, you know, I don't know if I want to call them anti-Trumpers, but they certainly were Democrats. They had, you know, and then they had come to the realization that everything is falling apart under Biden and that Trump was the clear answer. I feel like that was like a year ago. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't recall exactly. But they're so level-headed in this interview, and there's such a good discussion. It just makes me go like, how the hell did you guys support Biden in the first fucking place? What is wrong with these people that support the Democrats? I don't understand it, man.
Provocation.
Well, let's say you were running Russia. You wouldn't be too happy. And that's always been off the table. You know, it's a border. And it's always been, you know,
yes,
I don't think that they would have, if they thought that that was going to remain sort of a territory.
Are they trying to kill me tonight? Like, what the hell's going on with all of my equipment these days? Jesus. Like, what's the point? What's the point? Let's see if my backup camera's going to work. Everything sucks tonight. Let's see what this looks like. I look pretty orange. So I'll get that fixed. We'll keep letting Trump talk while I figure this shit out.
Where you don't have NATO. But they don't want to have soldiers right on their border. They don't want to have it. It's always been understood, and that's even before Putin. It's always been understood that that was a no-no. And now you can go against their wishes, and it doesn't mean they're right when they say that. But that was very provocative. And now it's even more provocative. And they're talking about, I hear routinely, they're now talking about Ukraine entering NATO. And now I hear France wants to go in and fight. Well, I wish them a lot of luck. I think good luck.
Sir, can I ask you about Israel-Palestine? So after October 7th, what's the right path to just resolve this once and for all and just move forward?
Again, it's so sad to me because it would have never happened. Iran was broke. They had no money. I sanctioned countries that wanted to buy oil from Iran, and I would have made a fair deal with Iran. I was going to get along with Iran. I was going to get along with everybody. We did the Abraham Accords. I think eventually Iran would have been in the Abraham Accords. We had 4 strong countries go in. And nobody went in since I got out. That whole thing should have been loaded up right now. It should have been full. They did nothing with the Abraham Accords that everybody said were great. They said, we're going to get the ultimate prize because of that. It was amazing. If anybody else did it, if a Democrat did it, they would have gotten every prize in the book. Every prize in the book. But I did it, and it was a great thing that we did. It was a phenomenal thing. But when you look at what happened now and you see what's going on, it's very, 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 very sad. That attack would have never happened in a million years. Iran didn't have the money for Hamas. They didn't have the money for Hezbollah. They didn't have the money for any of the 28 other cells of terror or whatever you want to call them. Iran was broke. I say respectfully. They had no money, and they weren't given money. And actually, it was a big story when I was toward the end of my term, there was a lot of big stories that there was no terror going on because Iran didn't have the money. They had to survive. We would have made a deal good for everybody. Everybody would have been happy. The main thing is Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. That was my main thing. The deal was a simple deal. Iran can't have a nuclear, it can't have a missile, can't have a nuclear missile. It cannot have that nuclear capability. Other than that, we talk about everything. They would have been very happy. It would have been fine. And you would have had peace in the Middle East. The problem is, I had them at a point where you could have negotiated. A child could have made a deal with them. And Biden did nothing. He did nothing.
He doesn't like to negotiate.
A young man that knew nothing, or a young woman that knew.
This is one of the best interviews Trump's ever done, and it's mainly because he's in an environment of people that are here to have a real conversation with him and not attack and not talk shit and not talk nonsense and asking serious questions. And when you talk seriously with him, you're going to get serious. I think this is probably the closest you're going to see to like the Trump that actually does handle business. That's what we're getting here. So this is a really freaking good interview.
Knew nothing in kindergarten could have made a deal with Iran at that time because they wanted to make a deal. And Biden never took advantage of it. Now, they put back no sanctions, all of the different things that they gave them. China buys billions and billions of dollars of oil every month, many billions of dollars a month. Other people are buying. So Iran now has $250 billion cash. They made it all in 3.5 years. And now they're much tougher to deal with. And I will tell you, I got along great with Kim Jong-un. We solved that problem. Nobody was in danger. But this is a big problem. This is a real problem. And within 90 days or so, they're going to have and could have very well a nuclear weapon. And Israel is a big difference in Israel between Iran with a nuclear weapon and Iran without a nuclear weapon. And lots of luck in that negotiation. That's going to be a much more difficult negotiation.
President Trump, I wanted to ask you a question about Roe v. Wade. You promised your base that you would overturn Roe v. Wade. You added 3 people to the Supreme Court, and you delivered on that promise. This might be the issue that determines the election, and many people believe it is. Are you going to do a national abortion ban? Would you support that, yes or no?
So I don't need a national ban because it's up to the states. Right now, what I did is something that people have wanted to do from day one. 51 years it's been going on. And if you remember, over the years, you're too young, but over the years, all they wanted to do is they wanted to take it out of the federal government and move it into the states. And I got that done with the selection of 3 great justices. I got it done. And it was a big thing. But I will say over the last 10 years, or maybe a little bit more than that, they started talking about the number of weeks and this and that. A lot of different subjects came in. It was no longer just simply bringing it back. Every legal scholar, from Democrat to Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted it given to the states.
This has always been his stance, and so many far right wingers do not like his take on this. They don't understand. He is taking the position that is going to be most acceptable on probably the most divisive issue in all of American politics. It's probably this issue. And he is taking the only stance that you can take to win over as many people as possible. That's what he does.
Because from a legal standpoint, from a lot of other standpoints, including even a moral standpoint, they wanted it brought back to the states. And what I did is I got it back to the states. And now the states are in charge. And the people are voting. And some votes are coming out the way certain people wanted, and some votes aren't coming out the way certain people wanted. I mean, if you look at Ohio, I would say it was a more liberal vote than people would have thought. And you could say that for Kansas. And then you look at Texas, it was a different story. But the people of the states have got that issue now, and they're voting. And the one thing that we have to remember that there's been a lot of radicalism talked about, and the radicalism is really on the left because they're willing to do abortions in the 8th and 9th month. And even beyond that, I mean, we have some people, the governor, take a look at the governor of Virginia, the former governor of Virginia, where he talked about we will kill the baby after the baby is born. That's a very radical stance, and hopefully that's all going to be taken off the table now. But just to put it simply, it's now up to the states. And like Ronald Reagan, I'm a believer in the exceptions, the 3 exceptions, as you know, and rape, incest, life of the mother, the danger for the life of the mother. And we have a situation now where it's in the states' hands, and the states are going to be voting. The last thing people want, the people are going to be voting. The last thing people want is for that to go back into the federal government. It was always fought, and very importantly, and people wanted it, they wanted it back in the states where it belongs legally and for a lot of other reasons.
So you wouldn't support a national ban?
No, I wouldn't support a national ban. No, I would not.
Just shifting back to foreign policy for a moment, Mr. President, on the relationship with China, it's funny how Democrats and Republicans seem to have a unified voice and banging the drums on the rise of China. Do you think that war with China is inevitable? And if not, how do we avoid it?
I think it's not inevitable. I think it's unlikely. I know President Xi very well, and we got along great until COVID. Then I wasn't so happy with him because they gave it to us. I said it came from the Wuhan lab. I was right about that.
He was right.
They said then it started in Italy, and then it started in France. It started everywhere but there, but it started in China. And it was many, many millions of people died all over the world and cost the world probably $60 trillion, which is more money than China has and more money than anybody has. The death and destruction has been unbelievable. But I think it's high. If you have the right president, we can live at peace with China. We can do very well with China, compete with China. But we don't have the right president right now. He's not respected by China. He's being laughed at by China. And he's a Manchurian candidate. I mean, he's received money from China, his family. And that makes him, to me, somebody that shouldn't be negotiating. I think he's got a conflict of interest. But no, I don't see war with China as being inevitable at all.
President Trump, do you think that Fauci and our government funded gain-of-function research? And do you think we should really be pursuing the investigation deeply into that? And if we did fund gain-of-function research, what does that say about our government and taking ownership of it? Because a lot of us lost a lot of years. Kids didn't go to school. And it caused economic damage. As you pointed out earlier, the amount of money you had to spend to try to avoid a depression was really severe. And if we funded that, what does that make you think about our government? And then Fauci covering it up. If that is in fact true, what does that make you think about our government?
So if you remember, I'm the one that stopped it. And I stopped it maybe for a lucky reason or an unusual reason. I said, why are we paying money to China? It wasn't about gain of function or anything else. It was, why are we paying money to China? China's got a lot of money, and they're doing fine. You know, we're considered like, they want us to consider them a growing nation, a nation in distress, all sorts of things, because they always take advantage of every treaty by saying that they need, you know, they're an improving nation. I heard the other day they have all different terms for changing, but they're a growing nation. Well, we're a growing nation too. We're a nation that's becoming a third world nation based on what we're seeing. But I was the one that stopped that when I saw that. I was the one that stopped that. The Fauci thing is an interesting phenomena. I was not a big fan of his. As you know, he said, no, let everybody come in from China. I overrode him on that. I overrode him on a lot. But he wanted the people from China. When I heard about this, I stopped it. We had a room.
Well, see, this is a narrative that went around about like all the, especially from the DeSantis bros. DeSantis bros pushed this whole narrative that Trump was a big fan of Fauci and all of that. And if you remember, it was clear that Fauci hated Donald Trump. It was clear. Whenever you would see those interviews or whenever you would see the press conferences and you see Fauci, he hated Donald Trump. He couldn't stand him. And Trump had to play ball a little bit from that perspective. But yeah, that was a false narrative that was created by DeSantis.
Loaded up with people and nobody could even believe it. But I stopped it. We would have lost hundreds of thousands of people more. Maybe more, much more, maybe over the millions, but hundreds of thousands of people more had I not stopped people coming in from China.
Did he lie to you about the origin of COVID?
Well, I've always said the origin was, where it came from, where it originally came from was the Wuhan lab. I happen to think it escaped from the Wuhan lab. I mean, I don't believe it came from the bats in 2,000 miles away caves. I don't believe it came from other countries, as China tried to convince people it did. I thought it should have been called the China virus because it was a very much more accurate term than COVID. Nobody knows what COVID even means. Why is it COVID? But no, I was always...
But did Fauci lie to you, I guess, is what the American people want to know. Did Fauci lie to you? And if he did, should he be prosecuted?
I don't think I dealt... You have to understand, Fauci was a much bigger factor in the Biden administration than he was in the Trump administration. I didn't rely on him that much because I didn't trust him. I would say got along with him, fine. Not really. But I didn't trust him. And again, I was the one that stopped the money going to China. I didn't like it. I didn't stop it because of COVID. I didn't stop it because of anything other than why are we paying money to China? It was strange. They should pay us money. We shouldn't pay them money. And one of the things I can tell you, the World Health Organization, so we pay them almost $500 million, and China pays them $39 million. And so I got out of the World Health Organization. They did absolutely nothing. They called it totally wrong. I got out. They called me and they said, we'll do anything to keep you in, anything. I said, well, why are they paying $39 million? We're paying almost $500 million. And they said, well, we'll work out a deal where you can pay much less. I said, well, now you're starting to talk. But even that, it was very popular when I got out. It was politically, it would have been very hard to go back in. People were thrilled that I got out. I could have made a deal to go in for $39 million. They offered me a deal to go in for $39 million, and I actually turned it down. I said, it should be if you look at, we're at 350 million and they're at 1.4 billion people, right? So it should have been 25% or less than that. But I didn't want to quibble. But I could have gone back in immediately for $39 million as opposed to 500. Then a horrible, horrible election which helped destroy our country.
All right, let me answer this for Trump, because Trump can't answer it clearly. He struggles with this. I fucked up during COVID. I really did. I made a lot of mistakes during COVID. I was a little overwhelmed. I had a lot of powerful forces working against me, and I made quite a few bad decisions on COVID. And ultimately, that cost me the presidency. That's all he needs to say. That's all you got to say, Trump.
Took place in 2020, and they went back in, and they're paying more than $500 million. And they knew I could have made a deal. Now, it's a lot of money, not when you talk about the world, but it's still a lot of money. But it shows you the stupidity of the whole thing. They could have made a deal for $39 million. Instead, they're paying much more than they paid even before. And that's the way the mindset of our country is. And here's the big part. China totally controls the WHO. China totally controls them. We have very little control over them. And now they want to give control over our whole country to them, which would be a terrible mistake.
Fauci brings up sort of the kind of deep state personality that you talked about in 2016 that's kind of like riddled all over the government. How much progress do you think you made, and what do you want to do if you become president in November? And do you have goals around the deep state this time around? And what are they?
Well, I have a lot of things. I mean, I did a lot of things in the FBI. I fired a lot of their top people, including Comey, who's terrible at what he did, a terrible person and terrible at what he did.
Well, see, why won't he say that about Fauci? Why won't he go in on Fauci and say Fauci's a terrible person, he's a horrible person, I hated his guts, he was a piece of shit? Like, he just keeps talking about Fauci with kid gloves. I know he criticizes him, he says he's not the biggest fan, but why won't he say that about Fauci?
I fired McCabe, and, I don't have to go through Lisa and Strzok, all of the lovers, and I fired a whole group of people. I got rid of them, and so many of the agents are so incredible in the FBI down below, but we got rid of a lot. You take a look at the World Health again. We got out of the World Health. We got out of this is a similar thing that, this is really similar to your answer, but we got out of the World Health Organization, which was a tremendous thing. We got rid of the Paris Accord. The Paris Accord was a disaster for us. We were going to pay $1 trillion, and other countries were paying nothing. Russia was paying nothing. China was paying nothing. It didn't even kick in for China until 2030, whereas with us, it kicked in immediately.
Somebody on Twitter Says Trump knows what he's doing. When you see the end of the interview, you'll see why he didn't go after Fauci. Okay, noted. Noted.
So I got rid of the Paris Accord. I did a lot of things having to do with not only people, but tremendous amounts of money because the Paris Accord was so unfair. And I said, when I do this, people are not going to like it, but I have to do it because it's right. People loved it. The public understood it. They loved it. And now they've gone back into the Paris Accord at the same terms and even worse than the terms I got out. It's really a shame. It's so many things. It's so sad to see so many things. I mean, the WHO, the Paris Accord, you take a look at these things, they could have gone back. If they wanted to go back, if they had it, they could have gone back for a fraction of what they were doing. And they're very unfair to the United States. We're like a lapdog for every other country.
Mr. President, I know you're running out of time here, we haven't had a chance for you to speak to the border situation yet. So I want to give you a chance to address that because that's always been really one of your main issues since 2016. You wanted to build a wall. The Democrats did everything they could to thwart that. You built the wall, but then Biden left a bunch of holes in it and then sold off the parts for scrap metal. And now we've had and repealed your executive orders. So I want to give you a chance to speak to that. But one piece I want to just add in as a follow-up question is a lot of tech CEOs say, if we fix the border, can we get more H-1Bs for tech workers? So can you address that as well as what's going on at the border?
Yes, so we built hundreds of miles of wall, David, as you know, and we're very proud of it. We did it as per specification by the Border Patrol. They wanted exactly the wall that we did with the climb paddle on top, with steel, concrete, and then rebar, and all of the things that they wanted to have vision through it, clearly through it. And because I thought about concrete plank, frankly, going up 40 or 50 feet, and they didn't like that. They wanted to have vision through, and I understood that too. I sort of disagreed with it, but that's okay. We actually brought climbers in, Mount Everest climbers to climb, and we built a very hard wall to climb. It's a very effective wall. And we built hundreds of miles, and then we're going to add quite a bit at the very end. And we bought about 200 additional miles, and it was ready to be put up. Could have been put up in 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. And areas that were rough areas that were people coming in, because as you build the wall, they go in different areas, right? They go further out. It was so effective. It was so effective. Mexico gave us a lot of troops for free because of a certain negotiation that I had with them. You heard that. But it was so effective, the wall. But Biden, they didn't want to put up those slats that were going up routinely by us. That means you had gaps. You had, as an example, you had gates in certain area that we put up. We were going to put up big, powerful gates that we could open, and you could let equipment through, et cetera, if you needed it. And they got rid of everything. They sold it for 5 cents on the dollar, much of it, 5 cents on the dollar. I said, I can't believe it. And that's the first time that I said they're serious. They actually want open borders. They want an open border. Nobody could believe it. I couldn't believe it. Because I never believed they wanted an open border, because who would be stupid enough to want an open border? Look what's happened with an open border. I was very proud of that. We had the safest border in the history of our country, and now we have the worst border in the history of the world. We had a safe border. I had a remain in Mexico policy, catch and release in Mexico, not in the United States. Everything was so good. But the remain in Mexico was a big deal. Not easy to get, but it was a big deal. They were in Tijuana, hundreds of thousands of people. They had to be approved to come into our country. And now you look at what's happened. We've been overrun. It's an invasion of our country by people. Many people come out of jails and prisons. They come out of mental institutions, insane asylums, and we have terrorists coming into our country at a level that we've never seen before. It's a very sad.
I never understood why the wall was so controversial. You know, every country needs to have a border, and a wall is a really good way to enforce a border. I never understood why they were so.
Because it's Donald Trump. Because it's Donald Trump's wall. That's why. Just like anything else. If Trump says it, it's going to be controversial. They're going to cry about. They're going to whine about it. That's exactly why.
Animated about stopping you from building the wall after you ran on that issue in 2016. They held you up for years with litigation. And then, like you said, they wouldn't just finish the little pieces of it, and they left big holes in it. And I think you're right. The only conclusion is they want an open border. I mean, how else do you explain it?
They want to destroy our country. You know, the fact is, it's incredible. The big mistake I made, I should have said,
Somebody said, okay, I'm 15 minutes behind, but is being staunchly pro-life far right really? No, you can have whatever the fucking opinion you want. Being staunchly far far right is someone that doesn't understand the politics of it and going, fuck Donald Trump. He doesn't stand against abortion. It's like, that's not a realistic standpoint to run for president of the United States of America. He's taking the literal best stance you could possibly take from a political standpoint. So you are being a far-right nut job when you don't understand. It doesn't mean you have to agree, but to understand his position is a fucking problem when you don't understand and you start screeching because Trump doesn't have your same opinion and you feel like he can't be elected if he doesn't have my opinion on this. It's retarded to believe that Trump is going to sit there and go, yes, we are going to, ban abortion nation. Like, he would get crushed. And he knows that. So anyway, that's my point behind it. I don't care what anyone's personal belief is. I care when people start screaming. I don't care what somebody's opinions on Israel is. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But when Ben fucking Shapiro makes it the only topic that he cares about, and then he starts screaming at people and becomes this massive warmonger, then it becomes a problem.
I will not build a wall. We do not want a wall. And that wall would have gone up in 15 minutes.
The more important point, I think, Mr. President, is we need high-skilled workers in this country.
Yes.
We need to recruit the best and brightest from the world. Every time we get somebody super intelligent from India or Europe, any country, that's
3 of us are
one less,
immigrants, sir.
Yeah, and 3 of the 4 here are immigrants, the ones without the ties. And we can get these great people into our country, and that's a loss for our adversaries and our competitors, and it's a gain for us. But I've never heard you talk about this. Can you please promise us you will give us more ability to import the best and brightest around the world to America?
I do promise, but I happen to agree. That's why I promise. Otherwise, I wouldn't promise. Let me just tell you.
I saw the clip from this, already know where this is going, and I don't like it. And we'll let Trump talk about it, but I don't like it at all.
That it's so sad when we lose people from Harvard, MIT, from the greatest schools, and lesser schools that are phenomenal schools also. And what I wanted to do, and I would have done this, but then we had to solve the COVID problem because that came in and, sort of dominated for a little while, as you perhaps know. But what I want to do and what I will do is you graduate from a college, I think you should get automatically as part of your diploma a green card to be able to stay in this country. And that includes junior colleges too. Anybody graduates from a college, you go in there for 2 years or 4 years. If you graduate or you get a doctorate degree from a college, you should be able to stay in this country. And you know more stories than I do, but I know of stories where people graduated from a top college or from a college and they desperately wanted to stay here. They had a plan for a company, a concept, and they can't. They go back to India, they go back to China, they do the same basic company in those places, and they become multi-billionaires employing thousands and thousands of people, and it could have been done here. And a bigger example is you need a pool of people to work for your companies. You have great companies, and they have to be smart people. Not everybody can be less than smart. You need brilliant people. And we force the brilliant people, the people that graduate from college, the people that are number one in their class from the best colleges, you have to be able to recruit these people and keep the people. It was such a big deal. Somebody graduates at the top of the class. They can't even make a deal with the company because they don't think they're going to be able to stay in the country. That is going to end on day one.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think we all wholeheartedly agree with that.
So politically, it's a good move, but I don't like it. And I don't like it just because it continues to normalize this, like, not focusing on hardworking Americans out there. Like, why not? Why don't what incentive do you want to give Americans for graduating college? Why wouldn't you want to give incentives to Americans? Say, hey, if you graduate college, you're going to get X, Y, or Z. Why wouldn't you give incentives to Americans to graduate college to continue to make America improve with Americans? You know, I know it's a crazy idea. So politically, it's fine. I get it. I understand it. I just don't love it, but it's not the end of the world.
being in the tech industry, we understand the importance of that. They're telling us that you have to go to dinner, Mr. President. So thank you so much for spending so much time with us. We really appreciate it. It's been great having this conversation
Wait, hold on.
with you.
I'm sorry. I have to ask, sir. I have to ask one question, sir. When you got elected in the 2016 election, you said the first thing or one of the things you wanted to do was release the JFK file. And then you said later, I saw it and I wasn't really ready to do it. And then I saw a clip where you changed your mind and you said, I think we're ready to see this file. And I'm just curious.
What's in it?
No,
Tell us right now.
What happened? Like what? Yeah.
I actually did do it. I released a lot, as you know. But when it came to the whole thing, I was hit by some people that worked for me that are great people that you would respect. And they asked me not to do it. And I'm saying, why? Tell me why. And they said, sir, I think it needs a little more time. And I released a lot. But I said, if they feel so strongly, I respect the people and would have done that again. But this time, I'm just going to do it.
RFK says the CIA killed his uncle. Do you believe that?
Well, this wasn't CIA that asked me, but I think CIA was probably behind it. But they didn't. They would have preferred that I not release the rest of it. So we did give quite a bit. It's going to be done early on. A lot of people want to see that. And whatever it may say, I won't say. I sort of have an idea. But whatever it is, it'll be very interesting for people to see. And we're going to have to learn from it.
Promise us you'll come back again, Mr.
You know, there
President.
are other things we're going to release, too. We're going to release
really? Like what? What else do you got?
We'll talk to you about it off camera.
Aliens?
By the way, I generally speaking, and there are reasons not to release certain things, obviously, but I generally, it's transparency, and I think it's important that we release that. And there are other things, too. There are other things that you know about. But people, more than anything else, they want the JFK files. We're going to release that immediately.
You have a prediction for the debate next week? What's going to happen?
Well, all I can say is this. I watched him with Paul Ryan, and he destroyed Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan with the water. He was chugging water at a left and right. I didn't think a human being would be able to drink so much water at one time. And he beat Paul Ryan. So I'm not underestimating him. It is what it is. We'll see what happens. But you take a look at the last one. I happen to think he's incompetent for a lot of reasons. I think he's incompetent because he has gotten the worst policies, both foreign policy and internal policy. I mean, who would not want to have a wall? Who wants to have millions of people pouring in? Who wants to have high taxes? Taxes are going to raise by 4 times if this guy has his plan.
Is he in cognitive decline? Do you believe he's in cognitive decline, Mr. President?
Well, I shouldn't be the one to say that, but I don't think he's doing particularly well. But I didn't think he was well 25 years ago. I thought he was not a smart person. And that was told to me by a certain member of the Kennedy family who was actually very friendly with me through a Palm Beach relationship. And I was told that very strongly. So I was never a fan of his. But I will say he beat Paul Ryan. It was still years ago, but he beat Paul Ryan pretty badly. And I assume he's going to be somebody that will be a worthy debater. Yeah, I would say. I think okay. I don't want to underestimate him.
All right.
I think that's smart. Well, your team is telling us that they need you to go to a dinner, Mr. President. Obviously, we could keep going for hours and hours, but it's been great we could. But it's been great to have you for the last hour here, and it's been great getting to know you with the dinner that we did, and we hope that you'll come back on our show. Podcasts are getting bigger and bigger, so hopefully in your second term you'll come on here and talk to us again.
Think Biden would do this interview? I don't think
Absolutely
so.
not. Absolutely not.
He'd be lost.
I don't think
after
so.
one question.
Him.
I don't think he's doing these
sir.
interviews. Yeah. So it's an honor to be with you all. Very good question.
We appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. There you have it. Wow. That was some hour, boys.
I want to hear what they have to say in their post-interview debrief. So we're going to listen to that. I want to catch up on the chat first, and then we're going to listen to the rest of this because I got to say, that was a great interview. One of the best interviews I've seen Trump on, for sure. So that was fantastic. So we will listen to the rest of this.
What do we think? Let's do a wrap-up, huh?
We got to do a little wrap here. Whew.
J-Cal, what are your big takeaways?
Yeah, so we'll do the. I'll listen to the debrief here in just a minute. Let me see what you guys are saying really quick. And my camera is still apparently fucked up. Let's see. Oh, it's working again. Don't get expensive equipment on YouTube, all right? Don't do it. Don't get expensive equipment. Let's see. All right. Because it just fucks up. That's all it does is fucks up. Okay, let me catch up on some super chats really quickly. See where you guys are at. Biker Angelo. Oh, I got that one. The 10. I got you on that one already, Jed. Let's see. Tweeted Tone says it's been forever since Jeremy Osteen. Do it, Fig. I mean, Jeremy Osteen would not show up for tonight because there's not been enough super chats. So maybe in the future. Jeremy is gay says that is all. Yanks fan says the power of one, the power of two, the power of Hawk. Tua? I don't know what that means. Objectively a cat for 2. Thank you. I turned 31 today. I love this community. Trump 2024. Happy birthday. Objectively a cat. Maximus BT says, where my breeds at? Nowhere to be found. Let's see. Armox Pack says, the CIA knows and they are watching. That's probably when my camera messed up. Zach says, I just joined the stream and this Fig still can't figure out his equipment. Hail chat. I mean, what do you expect? 8 o'clock, Trump 2024. The Raging American. Who's your pick for VP currently? Hail the 199. If you want to talk realistically, because there's who I would like, but anyone I like is kind of not in the running at this point in time. Realistically, it feels like Doug Burgum might be the front runner. I think Doug Burgum might be the front runner. And I don't know a ton about the guy, but I feel like he's very, very committed to Trump and everything like that. So we'll go with him. And Byron Donalds is obviously on the short list, and so is Ben Carson for me. Really Now says, wrong. That's right for abuse. You already have colleges taking payment to pass legacy fools. They will abuse it and use student loans to do it. Over on Rumble, we've got Vault95 says, had to give up on Beanie Boy tonight. Was super boring. Beardo's intro was 1,000,000,000% more entertaining. Now he's kicking ass in Metal Gear. Hail the 199 and CobraCast. Trump 2024. Let's fucking go. Mod Eric says, Oakland, California, a 77-year-old man was shot and killed. 1 of 3 armed people breaking in his house. 1 with a legal handgun. He is being held for murder. The dim DAs are insane. Just one of China's dirty coal power plants. Ours are clean, puts more pollution than all Western counties combined. Let's see. Vault 95 says, prior to 1913 and the Fed Reserve's creation and the federal government got all its money from tariffs. Great Tang says, the chat is mostly about the streamers' camera issues and the political affiliation of the guests on the show. LOL. Hail the snake pin. Is that what it said? Is that what it said? Lady Astrid, welcome to the snake pit. Jupiter Knight. Let's see. Says, oh God. So I don't know what I'm saying there. But yeah, Dick's Insider for President 2028. Hail the 199 Trump 2024. You guys come up with new shit to fuck with me every single stream, and eventually I'm going to say a gamer word that I don't need to say on stream. I don't mind saying gamer words. I just want to make sure I don't get clipped saying something I shouldn't say. Yo, Pops! Member message. You're a Cobra legend? You're a Cobra legend? MOHP. All right, let's go back to this right here, this debrief, and see what they have going on.
Well, I'm undecided, as you know. We had a limited amount of time with him, and obviously,
Jake, Cal, just say it. Just say it. You like him. You didn't. You were. Just say it. Just say it because it's written all across your face. Just say it. You like him. You're confused.
I have some
He
blockers.
crushed your questions. No, he crushed your questions.
I think he did.
You asked tough questions.
You asked great questions, and he just dealt with them head on. Just admit it. You like him. You like him. You look at him.
Well, I do like the fact that he came on the pod.
I told you you'd like him. I told you you'd like him. This is my point. Whether you come out of it wanting to vote for the president or not,
sure.
Everybody needs to, I think, just sit in a room and just hear him out.
If you want me to answer the question, what I'll say is there are some blockers I have that we didn't get to. January 6th, obviously. I did, one of the blockers I have is obviously Roe v. Wade. And I think he handled that question really well. And I think we may have gotten a little bit of breaking news there in terms of him saying he would not do the national ban. And I think that's a big concern people have. And I think that's maybe the issue, according to a lot of experts. I'm starting to sound like Trump. According to a lot of experts, people believe that could be the deciding issue of the election. And so I think he handled it really well by saying the states are going to choose and he's not going to do the federal ban, and he believes in the exemption.
He was very unequivocal about that, really clear that he would not do a national ban, really clear that the states would decide. And furthermore, he understood that the states are deciding. There's been a bunch of referenda at the state level, and they are generally coming out on the pro-choice side. And he indicated that he understood that some of the votes are not turning out the way the people may have thought.
80% of people want. Right. 80% of people
He's going to respect
democracy.
Yeah. He's going to respect democracy on that issue.
Yeah.
So I think he nailed that question.
I think he was very definitive about Ukraine not entering NATO. And I think he was very definitive about an H-1B policy that's pro-productivity and immigration.
That was the part I like best, if I'm being honest.
Giving grads green cards, that's like such a good
That's
idea.
breaking news too, by the way. I think we elevated the discussion about immigration beyond the wall and into recruitment, which is what I have been trying to do on this podcast.
And that will play very well. Regardless of my opinion on it, it's going to play extremely well. This was just a damn good interview, top to bottom, for Trump. It really was.
For a couple of years here now. So to hear the president say, I will do that for you because I want that, that to me was palatable. And, there's a lot of things I agree with him on. And the January 6th stuff we didn't get to. So apologies to the audience on that. I know a lot of people have feelings about it. But, you can only get so
Nobody gives a fuck about January 6th, okay? Nobody gives a shit.
much from 50 minutes of interview. I think he did a great job.
CNN did a whole town hall on that issue. I mean, quite frankly, I felt like we dealt with a lot of substance here. So, but Chamath, I agree with you. He was really clear on Ukraine. He went further than he has in the past. In the past, he said that he'll get a peace deal very quickly and that he wants the people to stop dying. But in this interview, he went further. He said that if France or other European countries send in troops, the U.S. definitely will not participate in that. We are not going to send American boots on the ground. The Biden administration, I don't think, has said that definitively the way that President Trump said it. Moreover, he understood that a major cause of the war was the desire to bring Ukraine into NATO. And I've never heard anyone in the administration say that. And he went further and said they keep saying these provocative things about, even now they keep repeating that Ukraine's going to be part of NATO. So he understood the provocation there.
Freeberg, where's your take on him? You haven't come out and said who you're voting for, but this is your first time interacting with him, albeit for 50 minutes in a group setting. But what's your impression?
Yeah, it's a difficult forum because we can't go deep and ask responsive questions, and we don't have a lot of time, and there's four of us trying to ask questions. So the format is a little difficult to get to the heart of the matter on some of these complicated topics like federal spending, deficit,
we need 2 hours.
Debt. Yeah, and I think you need to just be able to hone in on the question, his response on how are we going to reduce kind of the bureaucratic overhead and the wasteful spending in the federal government. And he kind of pivoted to the Department of Education. That's 3% of the federal budget. I want to talk about the rest of it. And, it took us 200 years as a country to add $1 trillion to our federal debt to go from 0 to $1 trillion. And now we're adding $1 trillion every 100 days. And it's going to take a lot more than just 1 to 3% cuts in spending to get us out of the spiral that we're in. I also am concerned I think very rightly so. And I think he acknowledges the concerns that were mentioned by Larry Summers that tariffs plus tax cuts could lead to serious inflation and economic contraction. Those are really difficult things to do together unless you have a very clear plan for massively cutting spending at
Just say you're voting for Trump, bro. That's all we want to know.
The federal level. So I don't feel like I got to the heart of the matter on those points. And as you guys know, that's what I care so deeply about. I think we need to fix the machine to be able to do the things we want the machine to do over time. And I'm very deeply worried about that.
I had a couple of reactions to that. So number one is I thought it was interesting how he reacted to the question about Larry Summers, because he knows Larry Summers and he actually said several very complimentary things towards him. So he may not agree with him on everything, but he said that Larry had gotten a bunch of things right. And he's an interesting guy. And Larry did get the inflation call right. Remember, at the very beginning of the Biden administration. So it was interesting. I thought that President Trump handled that question very tactfully, I think. It's not like
Do we
he
really
wasn't
buy-
looking to attack anyone
Yeah.
or anything like that.
Do we really buy he's going to do this tariffs thing anyway? Like, it seems like that's a bit of pandering maybe to the voter base. It sounds like a great solution, right? But I
To your
don't think he's
point,
going to do it. Yeah.
Once the economic advisors get together and look at the analysis on what this will do to costs of things, inflation will go up, et cetera. Maybe there's a rethink ultimately on how that's implemented and on what particular slices of the economy it's implemented. So I'm sure, as you point out, it probably gets toned down for this to even become a reality. It seems quite
just on
difficult
the
to
second
implement.
piece on the deficit, Jake, how you asked a pretty tough question there, where you basically said, look, the debt has grown as much under your first term as it has under Biden. Remember that, the $8 trillion or something?
It's almost exactly going to be the same. 6.5 to date from Biden, 7.8 trillion.
But I think he had a pretty
Trump.
good answer, which was that, look, at the first year of COVID, we were dealing with, a potential depression. I don't know if he mentioned that the economy, GDP was down 30%.
Yeah, he talked about 1929,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he basically explained that we had to do that. But then after that, we shouldn't have kept going. And I do think that Trump is just not as big a spender as Biden. I mean, look, Biden's been in Washington for 50 years. He thinks government...
How do you guys realize we had 4 years of Trump and we've had nearly 4 years of Biden? The answers are right there. Now, again, these are smart guys. I like these guys. We already have the fucking answers. The answers are right there. There is no question to be asked because you already have the fucking answers. This really is not that hard to look into.
That's the answer for everything. He loves spending money. And he spent trillions on COVID even after we didn't need to. So I get the sense that Trump was a reluctant spender. I'm not saying he didn't spend, but whereas Biden, I think, is a eager spender. And
yeah, I disagree.
I think
any modern
if he had the
politician
power,
wants to spend because it's popular. I just think it's their nature.
I think if Trump had the power by himself to rein in spending, I think he would. I think the issue is that the president by himself can't do that much.
Which is what my follow-up question was, right? I was trying to ask him, like, can you actually do it as president or not? Like, is there the wherewithal to do it?
I think the other aspect I wanted to see, I'm really glad he talked about de-dollarization. And he mentioned it up front. And so that, to me, really resonated. It really rings true to the effect of U.S. spending, U.S. foreign policy. So much of this is driving, and I'm concerned about, driving the Saudis into the arms of the Chinese and other foreign adversaries to the United States. And I would have really liked to have spent a little time with him on the Saudi relationship, where he sees that headed, how the Saudi relationship will affect the Middle East, and how the Saudi relationship could affect...
It's kind of annoying at this point. It's kind of annoying. I'm not going to continue on much longer. I want to hear a few more things of what they have to say, but you have 4 years of Trump and you have 4 years of Biden. It's really not a tough decision.
The U.S. Dollar and dollar reserves around the world. But I think he's acutely aware of de-dollarization and foreign reserves in dollars being sold down, and that there are serious effects to that. I didn't hear a follow-up on what the specific responses will be to the drivers there, which I would have loved to have spent a little more time on.
What do you think will be the viral moments to come out of this, if any? What do you think the mainstream media or social media will take from this? Any moments you think were breaking news or notable?
Well, I think there's a lot of clarity on a couple of important points. One is no federal ban on abortion. I think that's important news for a lot of people. The second is this clarity on H-1Bs, which is very different from what has to be done at the border. And I think that was very clear and new. And I think it's very positive for our community, meaning the tech industry.
Absolutely.
I think
that's why I push
we need that clarity because we're trying to hire these people and we are losing them every day. And then the third was, I think the clarity on NATO was also very definitive. And I think that's important. The fourth, which was an implication of what he said, which is a little depressing, is I think there's a lot of us that want to see this Israeli-Palestine conflict resolved. And
right.
I think what he's saying is we can't because we've let the genie out of the bottle. We have an adversary now with $250 billion of excess cash who has no incentive to negotiate.
Iran.
That's Iran. So that's really depressing. And then the fifth one was around this JFK thing. The reason why I asked the JFK question is not necessarily that I have a specific interest in JFK, but it's emblematic of, it's a proxy for this deep state, this idea of secrets, or this idea of there's a layer of people that are embedded in the United States government that decides on behalf of all of us. And I think when you have somebody who can push back against that.
If you're still asking if that exists, you're not paying attention. Donald Trump, Mar-a-Lago, as you guys joked in the beginning of this, Mar-a-Lago was valued at $18 million. There's not a planet in existence where that makes sense. None. None. And the only reason that's happening is because President Trump is running for, or Donald Trump is running for president, and he's dominating. Just like all of the other bogus arrests. Why are these happening? Who's making these decisions? How are these things playing out? Joe Biden doesn't know where he's at on any given day. Who's controlling that? Because it ain't him. He ain't making decisions. COVID happened. We all saw this play out right before our very eyes.
And use transparency and sunlight as the cleansing function. That is what we need.
If we're going to rebuild trust in our government and institutions, we're going to need a lot more transparency. And if that one's hanging out there, why not resolve it? I mean, did he say he thinks the CIA did it? I think I heard him say that.
I don't think
the CIA did it.
What I heard was he said
the CIA was behind
the people that were influencing him not to.
Yes.
No, I think what he said was
they
the
didn't want the
CIA
information out.
Yeah, we should be clear about that because it could be quoted out of context.
Yeah, we're going to need to see the transcript on that.
He did not say that he thought the CIA was behind.
No, he did not say. He didn't come anywhere close.
Right.
He said that he thought the CIA was behind the folks that were telling him to not do it, and he listened to them out of trust and respect for them, which I think that's a reasonable judgment in the moment.
Nick, we got to see that transcript. Yeah.
My point is, exposing that is a very important way of giving the influence and power back to the people.
Absolutely.
You know, I've mentioned this quote from Mike Pompeo, which is really powerful, but it's something to the effect of, you know, the people on the top floor of the CIA do not believe it's a Democrat or a Republican that runs America, but that they do. And he said that in the context of being asked, what is the one regret you have, or some of the biggest regrets you have in running the CIA? And Pompeo said that he didn't fix that. So I think that there's a lot of embedded versions of this establishment class that lurk in many institutions, whether it's the EPA, whether it's the CIA, whether it's the NIH. And if there are ways in which the president can unlock the data that's necessary or the information for all of us to have a little bit more clarity on what's happening, I think it's important. And I do think for many people, that the JFK file is representative of a lot of them.
Well, and then dovetailing that, Sachs, the Fauci discussion, where he said, I never trusted Fauci, and then kind of pushing it on like, hey, do you think he should be prosecuted? Did we fund it or not? Seems pretty clear. He believes we funded Gain of Research. His position was, I just didn't want to spend the money, which I appreciate about him.
With China.
With China,
You
yeah.
want to spend the money in China, yeah.
Yeah, and so what did you think of that point? Yeah.
Well, I thought that his response on that was similar to a lot of his responses, which is he did not take the edgy position that he was sort of being teed up to take. I mean, kind of.
And he does and that's the thing that I take away from this is this was a very business as usual, or not business, very business focused and very direct President Trump in this interview. It was very direct, and I liked it. I think we need to see more of this. Unfortunately, he spends a lot of time talking to people that are there's usually two types of people that are talking to President Trump. There's usually people that are simply just looking for, no, I'm sorry, there's three types of people that Trump usually talks to, okay? There's three. There's one, the people that are just looking for clout. That would be the Logan Pauls of the world, okay? So that's just, and that's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but he just, that's what they want. Then you have the people that hate him, the media. They're just going to try to trip him up and get anything they can, any soundbite that they can twist and manipulate. And then you have the people that are just going to literally just agree with everything Trump says, like the Sean Hannitys of the world. So this was a whole different ballgame to hear him talking with these guys from this perspective. And it was a whole different Trump that we were getting. So I really thought it was awesome. It really was. There's still 18 more minutes of this left. I'm not going to watch this whole thing, but it was good stuff. It was good perspective for sure. All right, what are you guys up to? We've got a few super chats here. Let's see here. See where we're at. I see Hayden. I see Buford. Hayden Wayne for 50 says, I hate the fact that the one dude is sitting in a digital situation room. Bro, that looks bad when you're talking to a president. I got cut out of making another vid today because of work, and tomorrow isn't likely. Upsets me, but I'll have some more out soon. Hayden's doing good work over there on his channel. Shout out to Hayden. And just in general, it was really jarring. It was really jarring that guy was sitting there with the green screen, and it's just like, you're clearly like, and maybe he was on the road, and maybe he thought that maybe the wherever he was at probably didn't maybe have a good background. I don't know, but I tend to agree with what you're saying there. It was a little strange for sure. It was a little strange for sure. Buford T. Justice for 50 says Battlefront 2, Jeremy. You know, I actually miss playing Battlefront 2. I don't know if people are still playing that game, but honestly, I might fire it back up. So Buford, it's on my radar. All right, it's on my radar. I do miss playing Battlefront 2. And I have like all of the stuff that's going on with Star Wars right now, because obviously I've been covering a lot of that on the main Geeks and Gamers channel. By the way, and I'm going to look into this as soon as this stream is over, and I'm probably going to make a video on Geeks and Gamers, but you guys are like, I'm seeing something with Dr. Disrespect, some bad stuff floating around about Dr. Disrespect right now, and I don't know all the specifics, but every fucking body is talking about it. It doesn't look good. Let's see here. Elite Neo for 50 says so it's the Hawkta chick went viral.
Hey, Jeremy, the chat's saying that this spoils the video. The video is for you in the CobraCast chat from Eric if you want to react to the Hawkta. The chat really wants you to do that, but this super chat spoils it.
Oh, I know what this is now. I know what when I hear it, Hawkta, I know what this is now. Okay. Again, it's one thing when you see okay, I know what this is. So yeah, Hawk the Chick viral went on Tim and Dee show when they asked her one move in bed that makes a man go crazy. She said in her thick southern drawl, "You gotta give them the Hawkta and spit on that thing." Hope this clears things up. I got it now. I got it. So I look, man, you can only keep up with so much internet shit, okay? Let's see. Brer says, Jeremy, you need to show the Hawkta to the unaware. Well, I was the unaware at the time. Let's see. Hayden says making videos is addicting, and I'm mad that you YouTubers didn't tell me how much fun it was. I'm having a blast just talking and throwing it out there instead of just arguing with people online, laughing my ass off. It is, man. Like, I encourage everybody out there, like, to start a channel, turn the camera on, and talk. It's not going to be great. You're going to look back years later and look at your early stuff, and you're like, oh my God, I was terrible at it. But we live in a time where everybody can utilize their voice. Again, I talk about this a lot, but I truly am blown away that I have the opportunities I have every day to do what I do. I think every day is going to come to an end. I never could have imagined that I would have even 100 people watching me when I go live. I don't get it. I'm never going to understand it. I'm never going to understand why anybody in this chat makes a decision to, let alone send me the money that I get sent. Like, I don't understand why anyone even makes a decision to send me $1. I have no idea what I did to deserve even $1 from somebody. So I am just blown away by where I'm at. And if it all ended tomorrow, I've had a fucking great run. So I would encourage everybody to go out there and do your thing, and I hope I hope your channel blows the hell up, Hayden. I really do. It's great to see. It's great to see, man, because there's a lot of good people out there with some really good opinions. Hayden's obviously a knowledgeable person. You can look it through that with all of his super chats he sent and all the conversations he's had in the chat. So he obviously knows what's going on. Kenny Justice says, super behind, but I'll keep watching. Thanks again, Snake Pit, for 13 months. Trump 2024. Also, Jeremy, did you see the clip I was talking about with China? I don't think I saw that one. Laughing Man says, I never sent you $1. Flag Ninja did. Flag Ninja did. I was worth $1 for Flag Ninja. Saloy Dream says Jeremy is gay. The Raging American. 7th grade is when I started supporting Don. My dad made fun of me, and now he is on the Trump train. He's a psychologist for vets and now understands. That's what I like to hear. Coop says Toby versus Holland, and you guys didn't bring up Toby's black suit that would crush Holland. I will bring this up on F&T with Drinker. Disappointed, Fig. Well, to my understanding, I thought we were only going to go with like their like peak version. So it was like Spider-Man 2 versus, I don't remember which peak version was with Tom Holland. That's what my understanding of it was, though. Maximus BT says the power of Breets. Let's see. Mod Eric says play the Hawk to in the car. All right, let me fucking pull this up since you guys are screaming at me about this. Let's see. Here we go. All right, here we go. So this is here's the clip. I've seen it going around. Take that right there. Okay. Here we go, chat. Here we go.
I love you, Pookie.
How many is on your roster?
There's only one I want. I love you, Pookie, forever.
How do you get over a breakup?
The only way to get over one is get under another. Get the cobwebs off this thing.
This mother don't miss. What's one move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time?
Oh, you gotta give him that hawk to it. Spit on that thing. You get me?
And that's when she licked me like a lollipop.
That chick getting a lot of attention today. Or not today, but since this happened.
This mother don't miss. What's one move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time?
Oh, you gotta give him that hawk to it. Spit on that thing. You get me?
There you go, right there. There's always a new meme on the internet, ladies and gentlemen. There's always a new meme. Frosty says, on that note, DSP needs donations. Hayden Wayne for 10 says, I'm almost at 100 subscribers after 4 days. I have 2 videos. I don't get it. I don't expect anything out of it, but it sure is fun. I'm convinced I'll die any minute, laughing my ass off. Thanks for the inspiration. That's how I feel, man. And Hayden, I think you're going to do good, man. I think you're going to do really good. Really Now says, Jeremy, I don't know why y'all even send me $1. Me and my Russell Crowe voice. Are they not entertained? Are you not entertained? Jeremy is gay says, play a Doug Townsend video. I'm not going to, hang on. It was right here. All right, hang on. Buford T says, oh yeah, and Jeremy, don't be gay. Axel Jensen says, we give you money because we like hanging out with you, you fig. Yeah, I mean, we're at the end right now, 2 hours. I've got to make a Dr. Disrespect video. I don't know what's going on with Dr. Disrespect. I guess I can at least briefly talk about it here. Let me pull one of these tweets up. It doesn't sound good. Also, Fortnite's got a massive update. So I'll be playing that tomorrow. But okay, here we go right here. I'm looking at this as we speak. A former Twitch employee has come forward and stated the alleged reason Dr. Disrespect's permaban on Twitch was for sexting a minor in the previous Twitch Whispers product. Okay, that's bad. That's bad, but I'm not going to blindly trust Twitch, but that's bad. You don't come back from this if this is legit. Okay, let's see here. Hang on. I got to see Dr. Disrespect. I bet Dexerto's got something on this. Let's see here. That's a big fuck. Yeah, that's a. All right, here we go. No wrongdoing was acknowledged. Dr. Disrespect responds to new Twitch ban allegations from ex-employee that he was banned for trying to meet a minor at TwitchCon. Holy shit. Click on this. Dr. Disrespect responds to new Twitch ban allegations from ex-employee. Dr. Disrespect has responded from a former employee alleging the streamer was permanently banned in 2020 for inappropriately messaging a minor. Let's see. Let me get this. All right. Blow this up a little bit here. All right, here we go. 4 years after his ban, ex-Twitch employee Cody Connors took to X, formerly Twitter, to share new allegations. According to Connors, an unnamed male streamer was caught sexting a minor using Twitch's Whispers feature. That's like their private message feature or something like that. So yeah, so that was their, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't used Twitch a lot, but I feel like that was their instant message feature or whatever. So, and it said, had planned to meet her at TwitchCon. He added, quote, the powers that be could read in plain text, case closed, gang. My question is, I got a lot of questions. If this is the case, why did Twitch keep this under wraps? I don't believe this based on the fact that it's coming out now. Again, I'm going to make a whole video on this, but I am not biting on this at all. I'm not biting on this at all until I see actual something that proves it, because fuck Twitch. They hired a fucking deer lady to be one of their fucking safety coordinators. A fucking them that identified as a deer lady or some bullshit. They hired that fucking freak to be someone to have power over the users on the platform. So listen, I'm not a Dr. Disrespect fan. I have literally never sat through an entire Dr. Disrespect stream. I know he's entertaining. He's got little funny moments. So I'm not coming at this from a fan standpoint. I know nothing of the guy. I don't care for him. I have no strong opinions one way or the other. Okay? But they gave a fucking deer lady power at fucking Twitch. Twitch has made it clear how much they hate the people on their platform. And so, again, I'm going to look further into this for sure. But I'm not ready to just jump and say, oh yeah, Slasher. I remember Slasher put out that comment about it too. Interesting. Okay, I've got to do research on this. That's a whole lot of information right there to take in. That's a whole lot of information to take in. So I gotta check in on that. Okay, let's see. Tinhead says, hey, just wondering what the fuck is going on with the attacks on Star Wars Theory. Reddit is going insane right now. You got to go look at, Drunk 3PO's got a great video on it. I reacted to Drunk 3PO's video. If there's been new stuff going on, I'll do a follow-up video. But I talked to Theory yesterday. We had a phone call yesterday. Hayden Wayne says, well, I just hit 114 subscribers on YouTube. You guys, thank you guys so much. You all rock. Hell yeah, man. That's badass. And really now for 5 says Twitch about to get sued. Can't comment on why employees were fired publicly. It falls under employees' expectation of privacy and is protected. Well, this is a former employee, so I don't know if the former employee actually is, connected to them in that capacity if they signed an NDA or whatever. Luis C says Twitch against grooming minors. Really? If so, do a wellness check on Dr. Wish Respect. Yeah, again, the only thing I've watched of Doc is him and Tim the Tap Man. I like how they'll react to each other sometimes during streams. And I'll see clips of Dr. Disrespect, or he's made some comments in the past. So I've made a few videos on him, but I would never I don't think I could classify myself as a fan of Dr. Disrespect. I'm also not a hater. I just really don't have any strong opinion on him. But he's funny in the clips I've seen, and he's obviously a huge personality. But this whole thing right here seems a little shady to me. All right. Got that. And all right, yes, we are all caught up, ladies and gentlemen. So, another one in the books. I am going to work on videos over for Geeks and Gamers, so make sure, you guys get ready for that one. Channel is rocking over on Geeks and Gamers. I need to start doing the same thing over here. I need to get into the video mode over here. So, I'm hoping to get something worked out for sure. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of this Dr. Disrespect news. It's very, very interesting. So you guys have a great evening. I really appreciate all the support. This was a great interview. D-Day Cobra Clips. Make sure you go subscribe to that channel. I think we're getting pretty close to monetization over there. So make sure you subscribe to D-Day Cobra Clips. Fortnite, a massive update is happening tonight. So I'm probably going to be playing a lot on D-Day Cobra 199 this weekend. So make sure you guys are subscribed to D-Day Cobra 199, which is also closing in on 5,000 subscribers. It's going to be a long week of that. For sure, or long weekend of that, because this new Fortnite update looks fucking incredible. So thank you guys so very much. Really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode of CobraCast 199. Thank you for all the donations. I really do appreciate it. As always, love you all. Have a great night. Trump 2024. We will talk to you later. Damn it, I was muted. Cerberus with 20 gifted memberships. Thank you, Cerberus. Appreciate you, brother. Awesome stuff indeed. Luis, I got that one. So thank you for the gifties. I appreciate you, man. Yeah, I'm going to work on this Dr. Disrespect video right now. That's going to be on Geeks and Gamers probably within the next hour. So again, if you are not subscribed to Geeks and Gamers, you should be. We are about to hit... We are on Geeks and Gamers. We are about to hit 385,000 subscribers. The road to 400 is right here. I am pushing hard to get us to 400,000 subscribers over there, and we ain't slowing down. We want to go for 500,000. So we're sailing towards those numbers. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. Have a great night. We'll talk to all of you later. Good night, everybody.